Hi guys. Alright, what I want to show you really quick here is I was in the process of doing something again. I forgot, what I really should be videoing this process. What I'm going to show you is how to chase a back ring, or chasing a ring on the back of a bow. You always hear about people talking about the need to do this on the self bows, and everyone talks about, hey, okay, I'm going to chase the ring, and they describe how they do it, but they don't give you a close-up of what you should be looking for. And it was really confusing to me for a long time because I never was able to see anyone in a video actually describing the rings and seeing the process. They did the process from a distance. So what I want to do here is give you a close-up of what you should be looking for when you're chasing a ring. What I have here is a piece of Osage. Now, the reason I'm doing Osage is not only do I like working with Osage, and it's one of the best bow woods you could possibly work with, but it also really has a good visual difference between the layers that makes it really good for display purposes. Here's what we got. The bow came, the stave came to me. It's just, a section of log. If you imagine this is just go around and you got the log. Now, this is the outer wood here. The gentleman who I ordered the wood from puts like shellac or, maybe lacquer on the wood while it's drying out to prevent it from checking. So you need to get that surface layer off no matter what. And then you look at the end of the bow. I'm not going to move the camera here. You've seen pictures of the rings of the bow and what they should look like in my other videos. But basically what you do is you kind of get an idea of which ring you want to use for the back of the bow. If you have one continuous ring all the way up and down the bow will bend and will be a lot more resilient against breakage. When you have two different layers of wood laying on top of each other and you bend it, what's going to happen is you have it could lift like this. And subsequently, if this lifts enough, the bow breaks. When it's all one continuous piece, it's like your finger. There's no weakness, there's no weak spot. It should all bend as one. That's basically the idea of getting the back ring. It's all one continuous layer of wood, so it's much more resistant to breaking. All right. So what I do is I start it off. I already have a pretty good image here of the back as it came. And then you start digging down to your first ring. And what Osage has, and what all bows have to some degree, is a layer in between that's kind of spongy. If you look at this, it's kind of this spongy looking layer. And when you go beneath that, you got this nice new pristine layer of wood. That's the new back, that's the new wood ring, or that's the new ring I want to get to. In this case, I'm only going down one level. Now, there are going to be people who say you're in the sapwood, you're in the hardwood, you're in this, you're in that, and that really depends on what kind of species of wood you have. In this case, I feel very comfortable with this first ring. In other words, if I were at the, oh heck, I guess I got to show you. But here, I'll move the camera here. Okay, here are the rings. Right here. Now you see this back is basically this top ring of wood. Then you have your spongy layer, which is the white line, and then you have the next layer of wood, which is the nice pristine ring that I'm going to try to shoot for here. Now, the only reason I wouldn't use that ring is if there was bug damage or some reason that I see once I get to that ring that tells me don't use it. Or, God forbid, I do all my work and then in the process I violate that ring somehow. I cut through to the next spongy layer, because that will dramatically weaken. Obviously, I broke the back of the ring. I have to go down to the next layer, down from that, the next ring down, and start over again. Or otherwise, the bow is just not going to be strong enough. Actually, if you put a backing on the bow, it doesn't matter. You don't need to worry about violating rings. But if you're not going to put a backing on the bow, you have to maintain that single back ring. Alright, what I do is I just start scraping. Now I'm going to start scraping right here. What I want to do is reveal the sponge layer and then reveal this lighter yellow underneath. So you just start scraping. you can see as I'm pulling this wood away, I'm starting to get into that spongy layer now. So you can see there's the wood I took off, there's the spongy layer, and under that sponge, let's remove the sponge now, that sort of whitish spongy layer, this nice pristine piece of yellow wood is emerging. So what I'll do is use some elbow grease here and really get into that, get a nice open area where it's all down to that ring. You see all that spongy, I call it spongy layer, I don't know what the right term is, but it just looks like a, you know, looks like a sponge. It's got holes in it, and then as I remove that, now that's really soft, so be careful not to, see I got, this is also something that's revealed. Fortunately it's right on the edge. If this were in the middle I'd have to get rid of these cracks here. Alright, now that I've removed the sponge, what I'm left with, now what you can see here is, here's the wood from the top, there's a little bit of a sponge layer there, there's the new ring that I'm going to keep, sponge layer, and then the original top wood. Now what I'll do from here, sort of work my way down there. You can use the scraper all the way down the limb if you want to. It's going to take a long time. It's a lot of work. I'm already out of breath from that little bit of scraping. So what I do is I come in with my draw knife. Okay. Now you got to have some touch with this thing. But what you're going to do is you're basically, basically going to start removing the wood. And you got to be careful because you don't want to cut through that ring that you're trying to maintain. But you can see, you just want to kind of get through that sponge layer. And just work your way down the limb. And this, I promise you, is going to save your arms. This is so much less effort than scraping, especially when you're, I mean, you could attack scraping pretty lightly if you want to, but it's just going to take forever. And I mean, look how quickly this is going now compared to whoops, camera, compared to when we started. And I'm sorry about this, guys. There we go. I'm just not putting forth kind of the same effort at all, but it's coming off beautifully. I mean, I love chasing rings. This is just as relaxing to me as it gets. This is as zen to me as pretty much archery gets. I just love this part. This is my favorite part of bow making, is chasing the ring. Just that ring revealing itself, coming into view, and just following it and just lightly coming at it with the draw knife. Alright, once you get the idea. Once you're here, there's some spongy wood left. You just come back with your scraper and just do some light scraping over it until you have a beautiful back ring. Beautiful single ring. Just get all that spongy layer gone. And also that sponge layer is much thinner, usually, than the ring you're working toward. So it comes off really quickly, but you have a little bit of forgiveness in the ring. That's a nice single back ring, a little bit of sponge left that I can clean up with either the scraper or some sandpaper. And this is the goal. You just go all the way down the limb that way, all the way down the limb that way, work around the knots. The knots are going to rise up on you, but you want to maintain that ring even though it looks like it's going to be a lot more wood, but that's just the natural curve of the tree. And that's it. That's how you chase a back ring on a bow. Hope that worked out for everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike from Boyer Bows.